Hi, my name is Valerie Steele Hancock, and I'm an English instructor at Atlanta Technical College. On today's episode of Culture of Caring, we are talking to Derek Smith from the Student Life Department. Good morning and welcome to the podcast.
All right, good morning, good morning.
So let's talk about culture of caring and what that means. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you about your journey here at ATC, because I know you've worn different hats from when you first started. So tell us about your journey here at Atlanta Tech.
So I started here October 13th, 2015. I started off working in the industrial engineering department. They had a grant. So I was an achievement coach for about a good year. Then I transitioned to being an advisor for the Student Success Center when I was advising all allied health programs. I did that for about 3 years. Then I transitioned over to retention services for about 3 years. And then now I'm director of student activities.
Well, you definitely had a journey from start to finish.
Yep.
And we talk about culture of caring in all of those different areas, I'm sure that you've just mentioned. So what does that mean to you, culture of caring?
Culture of caring. I'm very student centered, so about putting students first. So I feel like that's our stakeholders. So I feel like that everything that we do, we have to make sure that we're thinking and being intentional about putting students first, especially the type of student population that we serve.
And that's a good point that you bring up, because we have such a diverse student population. And so sometimes we hear these phrases like culture of caring. We hear them in meetings, we hear them in conferences and workshops. For me, I think it means, in all aspects of the college, that's what the student should encounter, a culture of caring, people, services that really focus on the student. How do you, in student life, how do you make sure that with all the organizations that you're in charge of and all the activities, how do you make sure that that part is included with everything that you have under your student life department?
I think when you have a good sense of understanding the student's journey, from prospect all the way to applicant, from first, being enrolled, sitting in the classroom, and you're being able to be a resource for students. So I think that Atlanta Tech, we do a good job with providing resources and support services for students. We provide accessibility and inclusivity for students as well too. So we meet students where they are. We provide resources for veterans, students with disabilities, students that may need resources and support services outside of the classroom. We do a good job with our academic support center with providing academic programming, workshops, tutoring services with them. And then being over student life and activities, I have the opportunity to be able to create magic to keep students engaged and expose them to different student organizations, activities and programs that centered around awareness and diversity.
I think you said a lot, right? And that's a real hard job to do. And I think in all aspects, from the classroom aspect, I'm thinking of as an instructor, to what you do on campus. It's something that is really, it's something that you have to keep in the back of your mind, like every time you teach a lesson or every time you plan an activity. How do you, I would say, encourage your staff to also make sure that they're keeping the culture of caring in their minds when they're helping you with activities or when they're talking to students that might come into your office?
I'm real big on just making sure that faculty and staff are aware of a student's journey. And that the population that we serve, 90% of our students are low income, first generation college students. So they need that extra push. And sometimes one interaction that we have with them can change their life, positively or negatively, right? So I think it's real good for us to just always allow ourselves to be intentional with our interactions with students and just know that just like when we attended college for the first time and we may not necessarily know, how to navigate through college, but then just know that you just have to always just be willing to be able to help a student in any way that you can you can.
Yeah, I think you said that so well. Helping the students, that's what we're in the business of, right? That made me think of another question. So when you have students that are coming to campus maybe for the first time, this is their first college experience, and you're trying to get them to stay on campus for activities, participate, really feel part of the campus environment. I know a lot of times in my classroom, I try to get the students to join clubs and things like that. What suggestions would you have for all of us who are, whether we're instructors or whatever our role is, to really try to get students more engaged with activities outside of their classes?
So I think the biggest thing is that, and these are I wouldn't say a challenge, but it's an opportunity that I face a lot. Is that I have to get faculty engaged, and faculty aware of what's going on. Because sometimes faculty are just focused on classroom, go home. They're not really connected to the college community.
Right.
So once I get faculty engaged, then it kind of creates the buzz with students. Like for example, with you do a good job with ambassadors program with, you teach English, but then you also, hey, if you want to get involved, or we have X, Y, and Z going on. So I definitely try to create an environment and space that may interest students. So like when we did New Student Convocation this past August, we had council member Antonio Lewis here, and he does a good job with connecting with students.
Okay.
So I try to create programs and activities that center around what's going on right now in our local community. Yeah. So I think if anything, I think that I always try to make sure I get buy-in from faculty and keeping them aware of what's going on, so that way they can kind of create the buzz, with the students. Because I think that if the students are connected to the faculty and the faculty are connected with the students, I think that it makes my job a little easier when it comes to students being more engaged.
Right. Yeah, and it also promotes that culture of caring that we've been talking about, which is our theme, or around the campus, because it's like from one department to the next. Sometimes I feel like we're puzzle pieces around here, and sometimes this puzzle piece doesn't connect with this puzzle piece, and I think when we do connect, is wonderful, because then the students, I had the opportunity to go with you all to the fall conference this year, and I understand it was like 66 representatives for the college, which was like the largest group, right?
Yeah.
So that was wonderful, and just seeing how engaged the students were, and expressing their leadership skills, it was just wonderful.
Yeah.
So activities like that, would you say represent a culture of caring in terms of getting the students engaged? And
Yes. What I like about fall leadership, it's an opportunity for faculty advisors, club advisors, and student leaders to be able to connect with their peers at other technical schools.
Right.
So even though it just encompasses the FBLA, Skills USA, NTHS, and then SGA, but other student organizations can have the opportunity to go to. So I think it's a good thing to be able to connect with their peers at other different schools, and then they can actually attend different workshops that's centered around leadership development. What are some best practices for your organization that you can bring back to your school? So it's a way to connect, and I think me being able to have the opportunity to be able to get students exposed to that, it does center around student development, which centers around, campus community and, ultimately, culture for caring.
Right, absolutely. It all comes full circle, right? And I think your journey, because you have more different hats here on campus, I think that helps too, because you've seen the student involvement from different levels and from different departments. And I think, so for me, I think that also embraces that culture of caring, because how to engage the students from different perspectives. And so that's wonderful that you are able to do that in your area. And I've just been working with you for the last few years. You have a lot on your plate.
I do.
I mean, I hats off to you. Kudos for what you do around here at ATC, because you do it so well too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're well deserved. One of the last questions that I did want to ask you is, what advice would you give to students who might be, watching and listening, or potential students who might be thinking of applying to Atlanta Tech? They've heard us talk about this culture of caring, and we really do try to implement that and create a welcoming environment for students. What advice would you give to a potential student out there who might be listening or watching?
I would just say that the hardest part is actually starting. But I think that once you actually apply, You connect with our different various departments. There's a lot of resource and support services that we have. We do a good job with job preparation and student development. We focus on that a lot. So we focus on you on the academic side, but professional development side. But our goal is to be able for you to be able to enroll here, earn a credential, and for us to place you in a job. So I would say if you're looking for a career change, if you're looking to just develop as a leader, I would say come to Atlanta Tech. It's a lot of magic here. A lot of individuals may not necessarily know of that magic, but we have a lot of magic here. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you said that so well.
Yeah.
It's so, I call it like the unsung part of the campus, because there are so many resources and services and organizations that can help that student feel like they are part of our culture.
Yeah.
So thank you for that advice. Derek Smith from our Student Life Department, thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. As we come to the end of another episode, we want to thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time with the Culture of Caring episode today. We hope that you found the episode informative, thought-provoking, and entertaining. If you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find out information about our episodes. Any suggestions that you have, feel free to send them in to us. Thank you for watching our ATC podcast. Until next time, continue to stay strong so that you can finish strong.